a lot of people are now talking about tech. They're saying tech is the future, but are there really jobs in tech? Do you really think that, okay, even if I decide to delve into this space or into this field, am I going to get a job? Am I going to get something worth my time? Yes, of course, guys. So here today, we're gathered here so that we could talk about where the tech jobs are and to know if they are real or not. And to be talking about this, I have some amazing people on the call who I'm not introducing yet, but they are amazing people, experts in the field. They will be taking us through the journey, telling us where we can find these jobs and how real they are. So today we're going to be discussing about both data science and cloud computing. Pardon my manners, I forgot cloud computing. Yes, so it is not only about data science today, it is about data science and cloud computing. And I know that a lot of people, yes, the majority of the people on this call are already familiar with data science. Of course, when we hear data science, we're like, okay, so I think I've heard about it before, but some people do not really know about cloud computing. They're like, oh, which one is cloud computing again? What do these guys mean when they say cloud computing? Here is where you get your answers. Just ensure that you're not distracted, you're seated right and listen to what the experts and the experienced people that we have on this call would give you. And I hope that by the end of this session, you'll be able to take something out and know that now is the right time for you to also start your journey. Next slide, please. Yes, so to the agenda of today. Next slide, please. Yes, so today we'll run through the agenda, which is an introduction of myself, a brief about Utiva, introduction of the guest. Then the guest comes in to give a little, talk to us a little about their experience and where we can get jobs in the tech space and if the jobs are real or not. Then we go on to talking about this, yes, then we go on to the panel session where we will be allowed to ask questions from these guests. We'll be allowed to drill them, ask them questions, whatever is of concern to you. That is the time when you can always get it out there and you get answers to them. Then afterwards, we'll share with you how you can jump on board and begin your tech journey. And that will be the end for today. So before I go into the session, that's before welcoming the guests, yes. Before welcoming the guest, I'd like to give us a brief about Utiva. I know that a lot of us are here because we probably saw this online. We heard from somebody, we heard from maybe an alumni, or we heard from somebody who probably talked about Utiva who is not even registered here. But Utiva is your one-stop shop for anything digital skills. So when I'm saying anything digital skills, it means that when you're thinking of starting your career in tech, when you're thinking of anything about tech, be it data science, be it product management, be it cloud computing, be it product design, be it programming, which is software development, anything technical skills, anything digital skills, your go-to place is Utiva. We're always there to help you get on board, start your journey and make it soft and simple for you. Like we're just like that cushion where we ensure that you have a soft landing and you're able to start your career in tech without any itch or any difficult itch, because of course there's sometimes you get challenges, but we're there to help you make the challenge an easy one. So introducing the guests that we have for today, we have two amazing people in our midst here this evening. We have in person Ewomazino Egedegbe, who is a data scientist at MTN Nigeria, and he has a lot of experience in the data science space. He's going to be addressing us about data science. And we also have Oluwaseye Olofinyo, a cloud architect, SRE engineer in the cloud computing space. So remember that I told you guys earlier on that a lot of people are confused about what cloud computing is. They do not really get the grip of what cloud computing is about. Oluwaseye is going to actually put us through this evening. And I hope that at the session would know what cloud computing is about and how we can begin to delve into the space. All right, guys. So I'll be welcoming Ewomazino Egedegbe to have the floor. Mic check Ewomazino or Zino. Let me just go straight to say Zino. Mic check Zino. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Good evening.
All right, thank you. So you have the floor. You have about 40 to 45 minutes to introduce yourself, give a brief of your experience in data science space, and also tell us about where these jobs are and if they are real or not. Thank you.
Oh, thanks, Abisola.
You're welcome.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the session. I am Ewomazino Egedegbe. I work for MTN Nigeria. So I'll be speaking on data science, or let me just say data as a field, not just the science of it, and telling us where the jobs are. Like I know everybody is interested to know, and we can ask our questions. So let me start from my career. So, well, basically, I've always been in the data field somehow. I've always been around data, and all my jobs have revolved around data. Now, in recent years, many organizations are beginning to see the importance and the value of the data they have amassed over period of time, because previously people used to say data is a new gold, but I don't think many people could relate. And I think now organizations are beginning to catch in. We are probably a little bit still behind in this geographical space, but well, we are coming up, and there are a lot of openings because of that. And probably we do not have enough experts in that field. So if you are able to get in and get in on time, there are a lot of openings that you can fill in the near term and even in the long term. So there's no much hurry, and you can also hurry. There's something for everybody as far as data is concerned. So the importance of data is like, how would I put it? It's like the heartbeat of every business. Now, you collect data from your activities, everything you do. And I usually tell people that before your business dies, your data tells you. But the problem is, are you actually looking? So most people before, we just run businesses blindly and make decisions without actually using data for those decisions to drive the decision-making process. And in that way, because we don't use data, we have some, you actually, because you end up walking blindly and falling into pits you should not have fallen into in the first place. Let me give a simple example of somebody that has a simple, probably a shop, sells different products. And at the end of the day, some products are, your sale is driven by seasonality. If you keep your stock on the average and use your head for the calculations, you basically will run into situations where you are either over keeping stock, you get things that are expired, and probably you will run out of stock because that is the season a particular stock is moving, but you don't know. You just probably wait to run into the situation before you react. So that is one of the functions of actually using data for insight, because it gives you, it turns you from reactive to proactive. Let's say that. So you can see what is coming. You can forecast. You can say, okay, between ABC months, using ABC, CD, DEF variables, I know that the request for product Z will be up by probably 10%. So I stock in advance so that I don't have to run out of products. So that I don't have to run out of products during the season. It's in all sectors, right? From the people who do your app, from the Uber people. Sorry, let me try to set up, put on my camera, if you don't mind. Okay. Hope
yes, you're good. Yes.
Okay, so in banking, in telecoms, in every kind of industry you find yourself, there is always room for the data guys, the guys who manage the data, the guys who, and in data, there are different stratas for jobs, right? So we have the guys. I'm fortunate to have worked in multiple of these functions across my career. Probably you start from I have been a database administrator. So that is the job function for people who actually keep data and who manage your data repository called your database, right? I have been in kind of a business and intelligence engineer in my career at a point. At those are the people that take this data, structure your data to meet reporting requirements, such that if business says, I want to see ABC, you go back and you look at where you draw that data from, your different sources where you have data, which is your databases. These days, they might be in flat file and all sorts. You bring this data together to make sense of what, to make sense to the business. So basically, that is with so the business intelligence is, let me say, part of what we call analytics, data analytics, data engineering. It's part of what we do in the broader name of business intelligence, because for data analytics, it mostly has to do with visualizations. Those are the Power BI experts, Tableau experts, the people who create your dashboards that business uses. So those guys are like the analytics guys. But when you talk of the data engineering guys, these are the guys that move data from point A to B. They are the people that kind of, even the way we call it in the data balance, massage your data before they move it, blend data from these different sources and put in a repository. Probably you might call it a data mart, a data warehouse, a data lake, or whatever, for business to consume. So these are distinct fields that are in the data space. Then there's data science guys. These are the guys that, or let's go from data analysts. They probably mostly writes reports on to show business what has been going on with, or what is actually happening. But it is done in hindsight because you have data available from previous business operations for us to say, oh, last quarter our profit was down by 10%. What is the issue? Let us do a drill down. Which product is not selling? Which product is selling? What are users? How is consumer behavior around ABC product? They are the ones who do those kind of deep dives. But when you talk of the data scientists, those people work forward. When I say work forward, I mean they try to get this data, same data the data analysts use, but they are more concerned with the future. They are more concerned with predicting what is going to happen in the future. And that mostly, I think, is a broad difference between the scientists and the analysts. So one focuses mostly on the past to present, depending on how much data is available. But the other one develops algorithms, develop machine learning packages for the purpose of predicting the future, for us to see, oh, if we continue like this, given variable ABC, what will be our profit next year? If we stay on these products, what will it do for our books? Because at the end of the day, everything ends up in value. So you're either increasing value or reducing waste. That is why you will be employed by businesses. Value, strictly value. So data is very valuable as to determine the future, the direction of a business, any business. So that is why people in data are not going to run out of jobs anytime soon, because many organizations have increasing Hello, can anyone hear me?
We can hear you now.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, perfectly.
Okay, so I think I lost I lost connection a bit for a bit there. So, like I was saying, there's a lot. Organizations are beginning to see the importance of data and making data-driven decisions. And that is why everybody is investing in data infrastructure, data teams, modern tools to be able to mine as much insight as they can from data. So going into that space will be very lucrative for anybody who decides to go. There are very many positions that are unfilled in companies, and most of them have to do with data. It's a big deal getting data people these days, and sometimes you get multiple calls from various people in various organizations. We are looking for a database administrator, we are looking for a data engineer, we are looking for a data analyst. Organizations are expanding because we are beginning to realize the value we can derive by by looking at our data and getting what we need from our data. It's there. Every organization has it in repository from the operations over time, but it can tell us the future and can determine the direction, should determine the direction of our businesses. So that is why data is very important. It's the lifeblood of any business. So basically, that's what I want to say. So it's not like it's going out of fashion. In fact, it has always been in fashion, and we have new arms that are springing up as a new part of what is in fashion. The data scientist role was not there previously. It used to be there probably a decade ago. The data engineering role used to be what was merged into business intelligence as a whole, even analytics. But it's a field that is evolving with time. And so any investment you make in learning learning in the data field, taking courses, learning new tools, you would not regret it. It is a very lucrative field. I know that one of the parts that in our society today in Nigeria, let me just say Nigeria, we focus mainly on work experience, right? So many people would not have, our organizations do not want to give people the chance, people that do not already have work experiences. But as it is now, we are staffed for data professionals in Nigeria. So I think that trend is beginning to change because we are getting more data centric in our organizations. So I think now is the right time for us to get learning, get into data, and get those jobs, and probably improve our lives and in more ways than one. So thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much, Zeno. Thank you for that. That was quite insightful, at least, and opened our eyes to some things. But we're going to come back to you.
Okay.
I would be bringing Oluwaseye Olofinyo on board. Mic check, Sheye.
Hello.
Hi,
Good
Sheye.
evening.
Good evening. Yes, so you have the floor.
Okay. Thank you. Please give me a minute to share my screen. I have a slide. Okay. Okay. Yes. Please confirm that you can hear me.
Yes, I can.
Okay. And can you see my screen as well?
Yes, I can. Where are the technology jobs? Are they real? Cloud computing.
Yes. Awesome. Yes. So good afternoon again, everybody. It's a pleasure to be speaking to you all this afternoon. My name is Oluwaseye Olofinyo. And that picture of me was in 2019 during the ALC program. It's an Andela learning community. Quite a number of people here on this call might be familiar with the community program. But through the course of my speech, I will get to the reason why I have that picture. But on this particular slide, I will just run you through my journey towards being a cloud architect and then an SRE engineer. In the year 2018, to be precise, while I was at work, I had the opportunity to make a presentation to my management at the time that we should move our ERP systems from being on premise.
Hi, Chef Shaya.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, but maybe you should move closer to your mic. You're not audible enough.
Okay, is this any better?
Noise.
Okay, so
is this better?
Yes, it's a bit better.
Apologies about that. Sorry, I'm just trying to disconnect any other thing that may be responsible for the background noise.
Chims, please, can you put off your video? Thank you.
Yes, so please confirm that you can see my screen and the audio is much better now.
Yes, we can see your screen. The audio is a bit better though, but we can still hear some sounds in the background. I don't know what's making that sound.
Okay.
But you can just please go ahead.
Okay, great. So as I was saying, a bit of my story, yeah. In 2018, I had the opportunity to make a presentation to my management to have us move our ERP systems from being on premise to the cloud at the time. And this was in 2018. That was my very first encounter with any public cloud service. And for some reasons, my management agreed to my presentation, and we got a consultant and moved the systems to the cloud. It was Microsoft Azure at the time. My hands-on experience at that time was a bit limited, and then in 2019, Mandela ALC program came around, and then this was me speaking during the cloud meetup session. And then that went, and it was in between that period that I got that spark to say, I think cloud computing is where I want to focus on as a professional. And 2020, the pandemic came, and while everything was down, I saw this as an opportunity, basically, to revisit Azure and take my professional certification exams. And this I did all through till date. And I've taken I've pretty much just done the whole year of Azure, then AWS, and this 2020 I've taken the last architect exam for Azure, and up next I have another AWS exam coming on. And why do I tell the story? I tell the story because a whole lot of people might find themselves in a position where they keep hearing the buzzword, cloud computing, And I want everybody on this call, especially for those who are interested in cloud computing, to come to the understanding of the fact that this is not a sprint, it is a journey. It is a lifelong journey that you have to be able to commit yourself to. So you may try it for a year, and unfortunately, you're probably not getting desired results. Do not get to that point where you're fatigued out because of this. Keep at it, and the results will come. So, what is cloud computing as a whole? It's just basically you as a professional or you as a business entity using someone else's computer somewhere in a location that is either close or not close to you, basically. And what you have is logging on to systems that are rather much more powerful than what you have on your on-premise site that is maybe within your location or within your house at that particular time. And the reason why cloud computing is being adopted at the moment by businesses around the world is basically because of...
Mic check, Share.
Yes.
Sorry to cut you. I don't know if you're using a headset or an earpiece.
Yes, I'm using a headset.
Maybe you should just use the system's microphone because it's actually giving a lot of noise.
Okay, so default speaker and microphone. Is this better?
Yes, way better.
Okay, awesome. Apologies about that, guys. So as I was saying, the reason why businesses have adopted cloud computing tools and technology over the years has just been because of the flexibility that it offers them as an institution, the efficiency with which you can simply just make a switch between the need for 2 computers and then, requesting for 10 computers. So it's just think about it like this. You run a business where you have 5 visitors coming to visit you, and you will need more than 2 computers to be able to serve those people between the hours of maybe 8 and 10 in the morning. But then as from 10 o'clock, you realize that you have millions of people visiting your website. You want to be able to serve, you will need about 100 computers to be able to serve the request to these millions of guests that are visiting your website. Now, the flexibility with which you're able to jump from 2 computers to 100 computers at the click of a button is all what cloud computing and its associated technology is premised upon. So you're basically able to just jump from a particular number to another number at the click of a button, and you're able to reduce the capacity that you have created back to its original state without having to bear any overhead costs. So you don't have to go to Computer Village. Apologies to guys who are not Nigerians or even Lagosians here. So Computer Village in Lagos is where you can buy any computer parts, basically. So what I was referring to is you necessarily do not have to call your computer supplier to say, oh, please, I want to buy 100 computers because I have millions of people who will be visiting our site in another 2 hours. You really do not have to take on these costs just because you want to serve people. And this is why cloud computing exists today, to be able to serve businesses. So you ask yourself as a noob who is trying to join the industry, particularly cloud computing, to say, where exactly do I start my learnings from? And when people ask me this, I give them just one response. You have to pick just one cloud of. So across the world, we have three major providers: AWS, Azure, and Google Cloud. Beyond these three guys, we have tons of other businesses who provide the same service. We have Linode, we have Alibaba Cloud, we have Oracle Cloud. We even have minor data centers. For example, I'm aware that main one has a data center here in Nigeria that you can have your data hosted on. But underlying all of these guys is the same technology. So what you have obtainable in AWS is what you have obtainable in Azure, and it's the same thing that you have obtainable as well on Google Cloud. So all you just have to do is just pick one of those to say, oh, this is where I want to start from. That is your starting point. And once you pick this, you're able to run with it. And alongside that is Linux. Linux is the underlying technology. That's the operating system that runs on these other systems that you have scheduled in these data centers. So you need a combination of a knowledge of Microsoft on any of the public cloud offerings, I beg your pardon, and Linux to be able to effectively be a cloud computing professional, for starters. From here, you then ask yourself, do you need to know how to be able to code? If you ask me, quite a number of people, especially those who do not have a technical background, quite a number of people who do not have a technical background will say, I don't want to code. I don't want to learn how to code because it seems scary. The syntax by the mere sight of it makes me afraid. And the good news is you can be a cloud computing professional and not even know how to code at all. So it swings both ways. So yes, if you want to go into some areas of cloud computing, you would be required to know how to code, and maybe just a programming language. You necessarily do not have to know it all. And then if you want to try your hands as well, if you do not want to learn how to code as well, there are other areas which are basically client-facing roles where you do not need to know how to code before you're accepted in as a cloud computing professional. I will speak about some of these job roles in the later course of my speech. But ultimately, yes, some specialized roles would require the knowledge of programming language, and if you are interested in, you would consider Python. If you are not, it's still pretty excellent. There are roles along the lines of sales and consulting or architectural roles that would admit you without the knowledge of programming languages. But ultimately, being able to code, even if it is a little, that sprinkle of it will make you a well-rounded professional as a cloud computing. Hello?
Hello?
Yes, so I think someone was trying to say something earlier, or was the
No, sorry, I think somebody just unmuted.
Oh, okay.
So you can go ahead.
Okay. Yes, so a combination of your knowledge in the cloud computing space and a bit of programming language will make you a well-rounded professional, basically. And you ask again to say, the jobs, yes, you know a bit of cloud computing, a public cloud provider, say Azure, which I would personally encourage people to go for first. You ask to say, oh, so you know a bit of Azure, and you want to begin to try your hands at job opportunities, what area can you specialize in cloud computing? The honest truth is that the cloud computing space is very wide. It is wide and it is growing by the day. So quite a number of jobs that will be obtainable in the cloud computing space. I promise you probably have not even heard of it. Quite a number of these roles there that I have there, if you check, say 5 years ago, aside from roles like, say, maybe a DevOps engineer and maybe big data and being a data analyst, rather now, are roles that you probably had about 5 or 6 years ago. Earlier than that, you probably did not have roles like maybe a cloud engineer role, a cloud security engineer role, or even as of 2 years ago, there was no role like being a cloud FinOps person. So it is a financial operations person. That's the title of the role, a financial operator in the cloud. These are roles that were not existing about 3 years ago. So the cloud space is evolving pretty fast. And you would consider roles like being a cloud engineer or being a cloud developer as specialized roles where you would probably need the knowledge of programming language for you to be able to get jobs in them. Same would apply to roles like being a cloud security engineer. That would also apply to being a DevOps engineer, being an SRE engineer. But when you come to roles like being a cloud solutions architect, you necessarily do not need to know how to be able to code or know how to know or understand the programming language. Your knowledge of being able to architect systems together will serve you very well alongside your Linux knowledge, of course. Will help you be able to get jobs as a solutions architect. In the cloud space as well, you have data offerings for people who may be interested in becoming a data analyst or a data engineer. We have those roles available as well within the cloud computing space. It is wide enough. And then the last but not the least is the cloud FinOps role. This is for, I would say, for guys who are coming from a finance background, but want to come into the cloud space. The honest truth is businesses are burning tons of cash, millions in dollars every month, just to be able to keep their businesses afloat in cloud. And they want professionals who are able to come on board that would help them audit their systems and ensure that they are not spending more than they should necessarily do before in a bid to be able to serve their clients better. And that is what that cloud FinOps role is all about. And questions as well might arise from people who do not have a computer science background. Like myself, I do not have a computer science background. Interestingly enough, when I tell people my story, I graduated as a clinical science major grad as a clinical anatomist, basically. So going by my background, I expectedly should be working in a hospital right now. Either working in the hospital or with an health establishment, basically. That is what my educational background will put me as. But the honest truth is, no computer science background, you are welcomed with open arms in the field of cloud computing. Nobody looks into your background. What the industry is more focused on is your skills. Do you have an understanding of what you have written down on your CV? Can you back it up with actual skills? So if they ask you, how do you architect X, Y, Z, are you able to detail an explanation of this? If you say you're a cloud developer, what language do you develop in? Are you able to efficiently write or develop programs in the cloud space? If you can do this, great and superb. Nobody cares if you studied geography or you studied accounting or if you studied sociology, it really doesn't matter in this space. Everybody is welcomed with open arms. And to the guys who as well are looking to travel out, and they are considering, also I want to go for my master's degree, or I want to relocate to Canada. I want to relocate to Canada, and I'm thinking I should consider cloud computing because it's been spoken of, and the buzzword is being thrown around. The honest truth is there is no better time than now to getting into the space. As I did mention earlier, the job openings in this space is getting massive by the day. And even in the Western world, first world countries, the UK, the US, the job opportunities or the job openings that are available there. For example, I did a random search on LinkedIn earlier today, and this was what I saw. I don't know if you're able to see my screen very well. In the United States, for example, I just searched for jobs that had a requirement for an understanding of cloud in the US, and I had 193,000 results. In Canada, I did narrow down a bit to say, okay, let's say that me using the cloud search term was a bit vague. It's rather vague, and I should narrow this down to just people who are just coming in as newbies into the industry, associate level and entry level. And in Canada, we have 15,000 of those results, whilst in the UK, we have 25,000 results for people who are just looking for entry level engineers who wants to come into the cloud computing space. And it is going to be growing bigger by the day. The opportunities are going to be much more amazing. And even in our own local space here in Nigeria, the opportunities abound as well. As the last speaker did mention, we have a bit of some sort of bias in our Nigerian space where most employers are rather looking for people with experience. But one thing that I found instructive is that despite the fact that employers in the Nigerian space are more keen on people with experience, if you're learning and you're able to show proof of the fact that you actually have an understanding of what you're learning, you're able to back up your job applications during interview processes with a detailed explanation of why you're perfect candidate for that role. And the honest truth is, if you're able to do this in an excellent manner with poise, I believe that employers will give you a chance and will give you a shot. We also have quite a number of startups in Nigeria that are coming up and within the African space as a whole. And the honest truth is, startups are way much more friendlier to people with less experience. So this is the time and a perfect opportunity for you to be able to come into the space, be able to learn, pick up on an Azure and then maybe Linux, and just get into the industry and begin to build your professional career on those parts. The other places where I reckon you can get jobs would be, aside from LinkedIn, will be on Twitter. Personally, Twitter has worked for me. My current job as an SRE engineer, I got from Twitter. During the lockdown, the whole COVID period, I was lucky as well. I got a junior engineer role from Twitter as well. I worked with GitLab in Canada at the time, and that opportunity came from Twitter as well. The very first remote opportunity that I had to work for a firm in Germany as well came from Twitter. So Twitter has basically worked for me, and that's why I have it as the second on my list. We have Indeed as well. There are a whole lot of openings on Indeed. If you go to dentry.io, work at a startup, all of these websites that I have listed here are places where you can go to and you will see job listings that are junior friendly, mid-level friendly, and even to people who have experience but are looking to get into the cloud computing field. That is people with technical backgrounds who just want to slap on the technical skills of cloud computing on their portfolio. You can always get jobs from this site. And just like I noted there, being able to get job particularly, I noted that down for Twitter, because I know that quite a number of people will be curious as to how have you been able to land jobs from Twitter. The honest truth is leverage keywords, and that is what the technology industry is all about. It's about the art of searching. So there's a popular joke that goes around in conferences, which is the difference between a junior developer and a senior developer is the ability to know what to search for. And that's the honest truth. Nobody, not even your own employer, expects you to know every single thing about a particular technology. If any employer expects that of you, they will be lying to themselves. But the one key thing that will stand you out is being able to know how to look for the right things and be able to get the right search results when you go online. And basically that's it. Summary, I would say for people who are looking to come into cloud computing, I would say please pick a public cloud service to learn and run with it. I'd recommend people starting with Azure first. Azure the reason why I did take a pause here is because Microsoft was strategic with the launch of Azure. And for everybody, I think it's a good place to start from. And the reason why I say that is because they had Microsoft's Office 365 offerings at a particular point. Well, they still have it for businesses. So when you go to your office and you want to log into your email, you are using Outlook, that is Microsoft Office 365. And when Microsoft launched Azure, they did give it out to every enterprise who had Microsoft Office 365 running as a trial account. So you can just log into Azure, despite the fact that I did not sign up for Azure when it launched. So for everybody who, for some reasons, in a way or the other, have had an encounter with a Microsoft service in the office space. So you've used Outlook, you've used Excel, you've used Word. The honest truth is you can find a way to build your CV such that you can point to say, yes, you had an encounter with Azure 3 years ago. That way, what you've just done is to present yourself as someone who had that encounter with Azure and has had a considerable length of experience. But during that 3-year period, you've been able to learn. So nobody would be able to tell that, it was just in January of 2022 that you just started learning Azure. You would say that, you encountered Azure sometimes in 2017 or sometimes in 2019. And that was what piqued your interest. And that was why, you took a certification in Azure in maybe 2022 to be able to back up the knowledge that you have. So what you're just able to do is to translate a very short-term experience of maybe about 3 to 6 months into a 3-year experience where you're able to convince interested employers based on the knowledge you'll be able to pick up in a very short time. The other thing I would ask that you do as well is to commit to learning. The cloud computing space, as I did mention earlier, is evolving by the day, and you have to be able to commit to learning. There is no break, there is no stop in this. It's a principle of continuous learning where you have something new that you have to learn. And one other thing that I always advise people who are juniors in this space is to try as much as possible to document their learnings. So if you learn a thing today, put it down on a blog, maybe open up a technical blog, or maybe dev.to, or maybe a LinkedIn article, or maybe a thread on your Twitter account, or maybe a WhatsApp status. Just, put something down, but preferably in a place where you can always go back to, a place where you can always show people to say, 3 months ago, I learned this particular thing, and this was what I learned. You have it documented somewhere. The honest truth is you might not know who is watching. You might not know who is just looking through. I would use mine as an example. I did write an article on, okay, so I worked with a MongoDB database some years ago. That was about 2 years ago. And when I did work with the database, something just crossed my mind to say, oh, what I just learned. So I ran into a particular challenge, and with the help of someone on my team at the time, I was able to resolve it. And I just told myself, oh, I want to have this as my very first technical blog. And guess what? 2 years later, I have people sending me emails asking me, hey, Mister, how were you able to put together this solution? Can you please help me on how you were able to arrive at this solution? I have the same challenge. And there is no joy than to know that what you have learned at a particular point in time when you were struggling to pick up a particular technology, cloud computing now in this instance, is now out there helping people to achieve solutions in their own work. And this is why I ask people to document their learnings publicly, such that you might help people. And it goes to the third point, which is being able to collaborate with others. That is what the technological space is all about, regardless of if it's data engineering, or you're in cloud computing, or you're a developer. All what the community is built upon is collaboration. And that is why I would urge every one of us to ensure that we join a focused community like Utiva, where you're able to pick up knowledge, and you have like minds to be able to rub minds with. They always say if you want to go fast, you would go alone. But the honest truth is, while you go fast, one thing that they don't always also tell is if you run into dangers, you would run into that danger alone by yourself. And if you get lost, you are going to get lost alone by yourself. But if you go with people, if you're in a community of learners, if you're in a community where you have someone who is helping you understand and show you the path, you will be able to identify areas that are major and areas that are minor. There's the 80-20 rule. I don't know if we've heard about that, but it applies to everything in life. So 20% of everything it says that we learn, even in the cloud computing space, will almost be useless in your professional career, but 80% of it you would always find useful. So work with people who have had the experience to show you that 80% that will help you go further, and then shut out the noise. That's the last thing on collaborating with others. In the tech space, there's a whole lot of noise. There's a whole lot of buzzwords coming up every day. People want to be innovators, and the quest for being an innovator is being able to come up with terms that people are able to vibe and jive with. So do not get lost in trying to be up to date with what the current noise is in the tech space or in the cloud computing space. Once you choose your technology that you want to run with, stay focused with it and run with it. And lastly, try to validate your learning. So if you've done about 6 months and go through job listings and you think you can match about 30% of the things that is listed on a particular job requirement, please apply for it. Refine your CV and apply for it. And the reason why you're applying for it is not to say that, oh, you're 100% ready for the job. No, that is not it. It is to actually go to an interview session where you're able to validate all of the things that you've been learning for that past 6 months or 3 months or 9 months or 1 year period, to say, okay, so I've studied this for 1 year. How am I able to convince someone else that I actually do understand what I am studying? And this is why I urge every one of us to try as much as possible to validate our learning. So apply for that junior job, apply for that mid-level job. If you've done a couple of junior level interviews and you think that, oh, it's not because of your technical knowledge that you are being dropped, then maybe it is time for you to begin to consider to apply for mid-level jobs. If you're applying for mid-level and you're not getting picked, maybe it is time for you to begin to apply for senior level jobs. The honest truth is, a job requirement that you have listed on an opening is what an employer is just looking for is probably just about 60 or 70% of the skills that they've listed. A few other things that are listed there, they would expect you to be able to pick up when you join on the team. So the 80%, 80-20% rule again applies there. Find a team that is able to help you learn that 80%, so that at every point in time when you want to validate your learning, you're able to validate that 80%, and with luck on your side, you're able to land a full-time role in the industry. And just before I round up, the honest truth is the learning curve is not a very smooth journey, and you will find that confusion would set in at some point. You will find times where you will have doubts to say, oh, I'm unsure about this. Am I even on the right path? I'm not getting I'm not getting interview invites. Or oh, look at my other friend that's gone into data engineering or data science. He appears to be doing well or better than I am. Am I sure that I am actually on the right path? Please, I urge you, do not be discouraged. And I would urge us to trust the process. Every single part, as long as you're committed to it, has a process, and there is a payday for it. So if you spend 1 year learning a particular technology, trust me, it will not go to waste. 2 years ago, I learned Google Cloud. Well, to a very large extent, yes, I learned Google Cloud. The following year, I took up Azure, and I went in on Azure from 0 to 100. And the opportunity still did not come. It was just when I was just idly applying or searching on Twitter, like, oh, let me just search for another keyword. And that was when the opportunity came. So please, I urge us all to trust the process, that if you commit to this, yes, the opportunities are awaiting you, and you will be able to get them. Thank you.
All right, Oluwaseye, that was a very beautiful one. Thank you very much. Now we heard Seye talk about the opportunities both here in Nigeria and even outside the country. And one thing I would like to buttress is the fact that Seye mentioned that whatever you learn in the tech space, ensure that you join a very good community, because a lot of people do not understand the importance of community when it comes to the tech space. It is a very important thing, because here you get to meet with people who are of like minds with you. Network with people who have the same vision and the same dream as you have. So right now we'll be going straight to the question and answer session. But before I throw it open to the participants to ask their questions, I would quickly like to ask both Seye and Zino this question. So a lot of people actually feel like, so right now that everyone is getting to realize how important the tech space is, are there not too many people? Are there enough jobs? So on a scale of 1 to 10, how many jobs do you think actually available to people? So let's say about, roughly in a month, about say 20 to 30 people are graduating from different organizations, learning one tech skill or the other. How often do you think this kind of people can get a job? So any of you can go first. Zino or Seye?
Okay. So I would say there are jobs opening up locally. There are jobs that are opening up internationally. The good thing about COVID is that COVID has brought 5 years time to today, right? There's a lot of remote work going on that was not possible, or people were not open to pre-COVID. COVID has changed the way we work, and I think it's going to be more of that going forward. So you are not just limited to this space. You are not just limited to Nigeria. Like I mentioned before, we have bias for people who are already working for experience, right? That is changing gradually, locally, but there are jobs outside the country, like some of the sites Sheyi showed us. They are very good for job hunting. I will also add one to the list, angel.co. They are very good. You go there, they are very good. You go there and look at the kind of job you want. They look at the ones you best fit requirements, and you more often get hits with these international organizations more than even local organizations. So there are jobs. The jobs are many. Just like she said, if you can prove to them that you have an idea, you are not off, you are in sync, you know what you are doing, or what you say you know on your CV, then you are good to go. I don't think it will waste too much time before you get jobs. There are jobs available, is if you can grab them, and being able to grab them is how well you learn, how well you understand what you are doing. And I think that's where great learning platforms come into place. So while you are learning, you just keep your head down, as we said before, you block out the noise so that you understand what you are doing. When you put that investment of time and effort in yourself, it effortlessly shows when you begin to speak to people about jobs in that field. So there's no shortage of jobs. There are jobs, and they are coming in their thousands.
All right, thank you very much, Zeno, for that. And to add to what Zeno has said, one thing I know about the data space is that data is generated daily, every day. Data is generated in different forms, and because of the way data is generated daily, there's always a need for a data analyst or a data scientist to work on this data. So if you are thinking of kickstarting your career in the data space, and you're thinking that, oh, what if I do this thing and at the end I don't get a job? My dear, there are a lot of jobs. Like, data is generated daily, and there's a need for a data person, a data analyst or a data scientist to come and work on this data. My Turk Sheye, I don't know if you have something to say to that about cloud computing.
Yes, thank you, Bisola. I would like to add something to what Zeno had said. What he actually said was spot on, and the jobs are available. I have to be very honest with you. The jobs are available out there. Before COVID, yes, there was that bias when it came to remote jobs, people not wanting to hire outside of a certain geographical location. But since COVID came into play, the world collapsed those geographical lines, and what they are just curious or what they just want to know is, can you actually do the job? Can you get the job done, basically? Your skills, are you able to put them into action and back them up? If you're able to do that, the jobs are waiting for you. All of the jobs that I've worked in professionally, well, let me say most of the jobs that I've worked in, including my current role, is fully remote, 100%. For example, my line manager is in Bulgaria. My CTO is in the United States of America. A team member of mine is in India, and we just work asynchronously. We are never on the same time zone, and everybody just works and we get the job done. And that's really is what matters at this particular point in time. If you're coming into the technology space, the jobs are there in the thousands. Check the listings, you would find them. There are quite a number of jobs that, they will tell you they want people remote, maybe remote within the US or remote within Canada. Yes, you would see some of those. Don't be deterred because you're seeing listings like that. There are tons of other listings that are globally remote, anywhere it is you want to work. For example, my line manager throughout December took a trip to Bali. And it was in Indonesia all throughout, from I think second week of December till about first week of this year. before I returned back to Bulgaria. And everybody was still able to work. And I was telling him that, oh, at some point later too, I would like to travel to a new country and just work from there. So the honest truth is, even if I want to go for a master's degree right now, or I want to even travel out permanently out of Nigeria, I am able to do that because of the kind of job I've been able to get, thanks to the no border policy that now applies to most technology jobs that we have out there. So please build up the skills. The job is out there waiting for you. Learn well and be able to document your learnings. It is important. And please leverage your community. For example, now, an organization or a community like UTIVA, there will be quite a number of people that have passed through their tutelage over the years that would get referral opportunities within the organizations. And as against posting it out there, maybe on their Twitter account, or maybe on their Facebook account, or on their LinkedIn, all they would just want to do is maybe share it within a UTIVA network. If you're not within a network like that, you won't get access to jobs like this. And this is why I encourage us all to be a part of a community like UTIVA, where we're able to learn and quickly get opportunities as well. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much for that share. So I'll go straight to the participants. Hi, Kolawole, are you on the call?
Yes, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My question goes to Mr. Sheye. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, but you could be a bit more audible.
Yes, I can, Kolawole.
Goes to Mr. Sheye. To ask, as a solution architect, will I have to write scripts like writing code? And secondly, my second question is, if I'm an Azure certified, can I work with AWS or with GCP? So those are the two questions on my mind, sir.
All right, thank you, Kolawole. So to answer your very first question, if you're a cloud architect, would you work with scripts? The honest truth is, yes and no. There will be jobs that will come that will not require your knowledge of scripts. But as an architect, you need to understand Linux. And the reason why you need to understand Linux is because there will be times when you will need to architect a solution for a client or for businesses. And one thing that drives the cloud computing profession is scalability. Being able to go from 1 to 100 at the click of a button. And there are tools that help you to be able to achieve this as a professional. There are tools like Terraform, there are tools like Ansible, with which you can build and scale at the click of a button without having to, click through your screen to say, 100. But the honest truth is, for you to be able to use those tools, you need an understanding of Linux. And that is why I would not discount the knowledge. So yes, please pick up the Linux knowledge. And with that, you're able to effectively as a cloud architect. And then to your second question, just like vehicles, we have different brands of vehicles. We have Toyota, we have Mercedes-Benz, we have Nissan, we have Ford. But if you know how to drive a Toyota, you necessarily don't have to go back to driving school for you to learn how to drive a Mercedes-Benz. All you just need to be able to do is pick up the key, look inside the vehicle, okay, where's the brake, where's the accelerator, what type of gear do you use, is it a 4 gear or a 5 gear, and that is it, drive on. And the same applies to the cloud computing space. What is different amongst all of these technologies, be it Linode, Azure, AWS, GCP, is just the nomenclature. So Google would choose to call maybe a Kubernetes service now a Google Kubernetes engine. If you go to Azure, they call it an Azure Kubernetes engine. in AWS calls it Amazon, no, they call it Elastic Kubernetes Engine, EKE, Elastic Kubernetes Service, rather, EKS. So it is just nomenclature that is different, but the honest truth is what all of these tools, what they do is the same. Once you're able to understand one, by the time you want to understand the next, or by the time you're going through the next technology tool, what you would have is pretty easy. You just look through, okay, so what is the name that they call this service here? That's it, and you are done. And I must also add at this point that there will be quite a number of specialized services that differ to each public service provider. So for example, you will see maybe a Messi on AWS. That particular service is not available yet on maybe an Azure or maybe on a GCP. Also will have some certain services that are unique just to them, that is not available on AWS and on a GCP. But the honest truth is, for the general compute service, data, network, infrastructure, storage, all of those things, they are practically the same. All you just need to know is to be able to identify a name that, oh, okay, this particular name just belongs to AWS, while this other names belongs to Azure, or this other names belongs to GCP. I hope that answers your question, Kolawole.
All right, thank
Yes.
you very much for that share.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Kolawole, I hope Shea was able to answer your questions.
Very
All right,
well.
Okay, all right, fine. Nkem, please go ahead to unmute to ask your question.
Hello. Hello.
Good evening.
Yeah, good evening. I've been enjoying the lecture anyway. It's quite insightful. I want to ask a question. I'm interested in data analytics. If I want to take a master class in it, I want to know how long it's going to last, the duration of the course, and then how much it will cost.
Okay. All right. So, Nkem, I'll be the one to answer that question. Yeah, but before I do that, I would like others to ask their questions, because of course I would run everyone on the call through our program structures. That's for cloud computing and for data science. So I would still get to your question. So this question is also to Sheyi. Dapsy Olatunji dropped it on the chat box. Dapsy says, hi Sheyi, which areas of the cloud do you see the greatest demand? The idea of FinOps is interesting, but what's the demand related to DevOps, for example?
Thank you, Bisola. So, Sheyi, I think someone responded to that question. Isaac did, but just to expand on what Isaac has responded to, Dapsy. Yes, FinOps is interesting. It's relatively new. To be honest, it's less than 1 year old. And the very first meetup of FinOps, I think, happened in New York sometimes September last year. And I tell people, when you want to go into a space here, it's always nice to see where, or to look out for the greatest area of demand, yes? So you can easily be in vogue. But you know, the honest truth is that there are also certain areas of cloud computing that quite a number of people are not buzzing into. And if we are going to be honest, yeah, the more technical that you get, the much more opportunities you would have available for you. So I would say, have a look at your background, look at where you're coming from, and look at how you're able to map a path such that there is a continuum in your professional journey. It's not just going to be don't do a 360-degree turnaround in your career journey. Be able to map your path such that even if you're coming from a medical science background, be able to tell a story that would align what your current path is and what it is you want to do. But if we're going to go by the most area of demand that we have right now, it would be around the DevOps and cloud engineering space. There is quite the demand for cloud engineers basically and DevOps engineers who basically are able to work on the cloud is huge right now. So if you check any of the sites, this will form the bulk of the job listings that you will see. Next to that, I would say will be the cloud solutions architect. Businesses, that is the very big businesses now, are looking for people who are able to help them architect their solutions very well in the cloud. So the honest truth is when you begin to learn about the cloud, there are multiple services that do the same thing, and there are differentiators in between why one particular service is better than the other. So as an architect, your job will be to advise the business that you work with as to which solution will best fit your business use case. And as a DevOps engineer, you're going to be working, say, much more closely with software developers in being able to build artifacts and push, what is it called now? To push code or programs or software programs that are being built to deploy them in the cloud. Why your role as a cloud engineer will be to basically work on making your machines readily available. So consider it's more like it's a bit higher than tech support, but see more like as a tech support role. So when people call to say, oh, my machine in US1 is down, you're the guy who they will have to call that will go into the machine to be able to tell, oh, okay, this is why this machine is down. Are we still able to bring this machine back up? Oh no. Then we have to either move over to another machine that's available in another particular zone, or you want to recreate another machine within that same zone. Maybe you have geographical restrictions or security restrictions on where you can architect your solutions or have machines at that particular point in time. But all in all, apart from just looking from the areas that are in demand, please look for parts that are able to align with where you're coming from, such that when you're telling, when you're being interviewed, and I think I found that quite particular with remote jobs, they're a bit keen on being able to tell a story as to how and why you have come to the place where you are. So if you're going to become a cloud solutions architect and you were previously a medical doctor, you have to be able to show them that, okay, yes, it is not just because solutions architect is in vogue. That is why you're becoming a solutions architect. It is because you actually have a genuine interest and you've been able to map out a path as to why you want to become one. I hope that answers your questions, Dapsy.
All right, Dapsy, I hope that answers your question. So, okay, could you please unmute yourself to ask your question?
Can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so my question goes to I think it goes to anyone, to three of you, anyone can answer. I'm more concerned about the hiring process of these tech companies. How is it? Because I have recently applied to some roles, and the hiring process is sometimes when you have to take like all these assessments that combine a lot of, like, you see cognitive reasoning, you see verbal reasoning, you see other like stuff that might not be really related to the role you're applying for. So what's the take on that? Should we have to do those kinds of tests? Is it a fair measure of the candidate's ability to perform those roles? Because those are usually like the preliminary test before they even get to even talk to you.
Okay. All right. Zeno, would you like to answer that question?
Okay, Kim. What firms in the technology sector are you talking of? Are they local firms or international firms?
Both actually. I've seen like a trend of a lot of tech companies always outsourcing their assessment to some like people who provide these kinds of assessments, so like cognitive assessment or behavioral, or like what is, there are really a lot of assessments out there.
So, okay, so I would say while I believe that to be the trend locally, especially for entry level hire, I don't think internationally I have not really seen that trend for jobs that are cross border. I think probably they want to, the recruiter wants to speak to you first to assess your fit for the role before moving you on to the hiring manager to talk to you and there on and so forth. But for local firms, I know especially they have, you know, we are stuck in our ways in this country. It is changing, I can tell you, but we tend to do a lot of, you must do SHL, you must do, how would I put it, GMATs, and all the other, whatever, and they still use, you must be you must have a degree in semi-numerate field, or you must be science, if somebody from the sciences or from engineering. But trust me, that's going out of the window as we speak. Most people care less. Most people have begun to care less about such practices, and even locally, I think some organizations have moved from that GMAT of a thing to more specialized tests. I know some organizations that do specialized tests. Yes, they use test providers, but if you are coming in as a data analyst, they give you like a test in data analysis. If you are coming from database management, they choose, or they ask you to choose one of the databases, probably an Oracle or SQL Server, MySQL, and you do a test on it, right? So that they are testing you. I think they've begun to see the value of testing you for what they are hiring you for, not particularly harrowing you through the SHL process where they give you 50 questions to solve in like 15 minutes and you have to, yes, some people still do it, but it is changing, especially as it has to do with technology. The technology jobs at the moment. So I think with time you begin to see less and less of that. That is the trend.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Abisola, if you are speaking, we can't hear you.
Sorry, I was muted. Okay, so yeah, Shaya, I was asking if you have anything to add to what Zino has said.
No, I really don't have anything to add to what Zina said. I will probably just refer in came to Mark's response on the chat.
Okay. All right, thank you very much. So in the absence of further questions, I would quickly run us through our program structure. And I also call on my colleague Ejiro to run us through the program structure for cloud computing, and afterwards we'll call it a day. So basically the data science and fellowship program is a total of 6 months. It's 6 months program, but intensive learning for 4 months. So it means that the training will be for 4 months. Then after the 4 months, you get to work on projects for 2 months. And this project is to help you build a portfolio. Because in the tech space nowadays, a lot of employers also want to see your portfolio. That means they want to see the projects that you've worked on. You're not just here to say, oh, I have experience in this space, and we cannot see everything you've worked on. So we ensure that we ensure you work on projects to help build a very good portfolio for yourselves. Then our learning mode is virtual, 100% virtual. So it means that you can learn from the comfort of wherever you are. You're outside the country, you're in Abuja, you're in Indo State, you're in Kwara State, anywhere, any part of the world, you can learn from the comfort of your home or wherever you are. And a lot of people ask that, oh, since these classes are virtual, would I be able to assimilate? Would I be able to learn properly? Yes, you will be, because a lot of platforms actually do all this virtual learning, but ours is different in the sense that we have instructors in class. So our classes are instructor-led, where you have an instructor in class who supports you through the learning journey. And aside the instructor in class, we have what we call the course captain. These course captains are people who have also gone through the learning process, and they volunteered that, oh, I have done this and I would also like to help other people who are about to kickstart their career in this be able to learn seamlessly. So you have your instructor who is going to take you through the curriculum, and also the course captain who is also there to support you. And classes take place on Saturdays and Sundays, 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. Nigerian time. I'm talking about data science now. 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. Nigerian time for the 4 months. Then after the 4 months, you get to work on your projects for 2 months. And we have a course starting very soon, which is on the 5th of February. That's in like 2 weeks. And if you want to jump on board, you can fill the form that has been dropped by my colleague Sonia, and somebody will reach out to you, a learning advisor. And even if you have further questions about this, you can just drop your information on the form, and we'll reach out to you. And this program is just going for $420. So it's actually discounted because it's way more than this. But because we want a lot of people to get into this tech space, and we want to encourage them to start, so it is presently going for $420. So if you're looking to jump on board, if you're looking to kickstart right away, just drop your information, kindly click on the form, fill in your information, and somebody would definitely reach out to you before the end of this coming week. So right now, I'll call on Ejiro to also brief us on the program structure for cloud computing. Mic check, Ejiro.
Thank you, Abisola. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. So the Utiva Cloud Developers Program is in 2 levels, right? It's structured in 2 levels to help you understand better and faster. So the level 1 is to help you learn the cloud fundamentals and how to understand the concept of cloud computing, the different types of cloud solutions and services, to help you understand the basics of Microsoft Azure, and then help you master the management tools for the Microsoft Azure services. You will also learn about the general security and network security features for Microsoft Azure, and then you will learn Microsoft Azure cost management and the service level agreements, right? So the second level of the training is to help you learn how to deploy on GitHub, how you will learn about the databases, Kubernetes, the Linux OS, and then the Terraforms. So it's in 2 levels, and in all, it's a 4 months intensive program, right? In these 4 months, you are going to be learning the skill, and then at the end of your training, you will be working on business cases. You have a project to build your portfolio with. This will help you in applying to jobs, right? So you could show your potential employer the projects that you have worked on, right? So the learning model for the Utiva Cloud Development Program, you are going to be working on 4 4 project-based business cases. So you'll be learning with those projects as your instructor gives you the necessary material and information you need. You're going to be building projects. And then our classes, of course, are virtual and weekends only, just like my colleague Abisola mentioned, just Saturdays and Sundays from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. And the classes are instructor-led, although they are live, but we do not give you recorded classes. You are in class with your instructor and other students for collaboration, of course. Like Sheye said, there's a place for community, right? And again, I would like to emphasize that you'll be solving business cases to build your portfolio. And of course, the class starts February 5th. The next class is by February 5th. So between now and the end of January, for everyone that is interested in becoming a CLAP professional, I will urge you all to register for the class. And in case you are wondering how much the class costs, so it costs 196,000 naira for those that are ready to kickstart immediately. The class costs 196,000 naira if you are paying outrightly. And my colleague has dropped a form. So if you would like to get more details or you need more clarity about the program structure or the learning outcome, whatever it is, just fill the form and we will get back to you. All right. Thank you, guys.
All right, thank you very much for that, Ejiro. And before we call it a day, I would like to do a recap on our program structure again. So earlier when I was talking about the data science program, I did not mention that you'll be trained on 4 major tools, which are required for you to know as a data scientist. You'll be trained on how to use Microsoft Excel. You'll be trained on Power BI. You'll be trained on SQL, that's structured query language. And you would also be trained on Python. You'll be trained on these 4 major tools. And one thing I like to tell a lot of people is that taking the data science fellowship program is a good one and a very smart move, in the sense that when you take the training, you can easily get a job as a data analyst, and at the same time, you can get a job as a data scientist. So it's just like you're using a stone to kill 2 birds. So that's how the program structure is. And other values that you get for both programs, so for both data science and cloud computing, the added value you get is CV review. So in the process of your training, we'll work on CV review with you, because we know that whenever you're trying to apply for a job, you actually need to submit your CV. So we work on that with you to ensure that you have a very good and presentable CV. Then we also work on LinkedIn optimization, where we help you work on your LinkedIn account, your LinkedIn profile, because nowadays, a lot of people are still not getting it, that employers go on LinkedIn to actually poach people, and your LinkedIn account is a place where you can sell yourself. And I always mention that in as much as you're trying to sell yourself on your LinkedIn profile, ensure that you do not lie. So whatever you've done, whatever certifications you have, whatever you know you can do, whatever projects you worked on, your LinkedIn account is a place to scream out there, to shout it out there that, oh, I am good at this, this is what I do. And we help with that to ensure that you have a very good LinkedIn account, a killer LinkedIn account. And whenever any employer enters into your profile, they see that, oh, this is what I am looking for. And lastly, we help with a one-on-one follow-up, which is if you have an interview and you're thinking of how you can ace this interview, you can reach out to us, and would be glad to organize a demo session with you where we can take you through possible questions and things that you're supposed to say or do while you are in the interview, and ensure that at the end of the day, you'll be able to ace the interview. So these are the added values that you get for both programs when you take the programs with us at UTIVA. And with this, I would like to say thank you to our guests for today, Zino and Oluwaseye. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you for coming to share your knowledge and experience with us. We really do appreciate it. And for the guys on the call, I say thank you for joining this evening. And I hope to see you guys in class. And whatever questions you still have, whatever concerns you still have, you can always reach out to us. Fill in the form dropped by my colleague Sonia, and we'll ensure that somebody will reach out to you. And one more thing I would like to mention is that We always have what we call the consultation session for data science every Wednesday by 4 p.m. Every Wednesday by 4 p.m. we have what we call consultation session, where basically what we do is just to answer your questions. So whatever question you have, whatever concerns you have, always bring it to us. Wednesday 4 p.m. is the time, and we'll be glad to answer your questions. And for cloud computing, their consultation session is for 5 p.m. on Thursdays. So whatever questions you have about cloud computing, if you are still confused that, oh, are they talking about the cloud? Kindly bring it to the session every Thursday by 5 p.m. And we would be glad to answer your questions and give answers to whatever concerns you have. Once again, I say thank you to Zeno and Oluwaseye for coming to share their knowledge with us and experience with us. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you for joining us today. I hope to see you guys on the 5th of February. So I'm hoping to see you guys in class, not here again next week. I hope to see new people here by next week. Well, the guys on the call, I hope to see you guys in class on the 5th of February. It's time to kickstart your journey. Do not delay. Don't waste any more time. Just take the bull by the horn and start your journey in tech today, so that when the time comes, you'll be glad that you started early. Thank you guys for joining the call. Thank you very much. Have a beautiful evening. Bye, guys.